Hello and welcome to another installment of Comparative Reasoning. I'm your host, Sidra Kennedy, and I want to talk about 9/11 conspiracies. I'm not going to drone on and on, no, because this reflects on how we are in society. This reflects on why we lose the narrative, not why, but how. And just hear me out for a second, because I'm not saying what you think I'm saying. My phone feed, Dusty Smith came in, Spike Lee saying 9/11, inside job, talking about the demolitions. It had to be a demolition thing, the way they collapsed, yada, yada, yada. And while I can understand that from how they fell, that doesn't mean that's what happened. It doesn't mean it was that. But they say it's an inside job, but they lost the plot. And when you lose the plot, you lose the argument. And when you lose the argument and you keep arguing the lost argument, that means you're either helping those that are trying to make people look stupid for saying anything about it, or you're not bright enough to say, wait, it's not this, it might have been that. So, do I think 9/11 was an inside job? Yes. But where, how, and all that other stuff. What's the in-between? And for me, I don't talk about a demolition thing because that's not where it was for me. That's going too far. That's jumping the shark. You lose the plot. When it comes to 9/11, what happened on that day? It was beforehand when they say, look, they tell the president there's going to be an attack. It's imminent, yada, yada, yada. And President George Walker Bush says, okay, you covered your ass, you can leave. They told him again. He turned his back to him. Condoleezza Rice had made mention of something, and he said it to her. Okay, you covered your ass, good job. That means he knew stuff. And maybe they knew stuff. Or maybe it was all a formality. But that means they knew something. They knew most likely what it was. Okay, you covered your ass. Good. Because in the corporate world, that means everybody's on the inside. They know what's going on, but they got to make sure that, you go through the alphabets from all the road just to say we did what we could. And so, with that, all you could get from that, the best you could get is they knew bin Laden had a plot. They knew it involved the planes or taking down the building in some way or which buildings. And it was just a good way to get into doing a war. Because after bin Laden's, well, it wasn't even bin Laden's plan. It was his second in command that had the plan, and bin Laden just gave the okay. That's all bin Laden did. He gave the okay. And they know that little bit. They knew that little bit without capturing bin Laden. And none of the hijackers survived. But they knew that. Something's not right. You see? The government is able to know, like little private conversations during the TV show, and you're like, how did you know that if you weren't there for that? So now you've got that. But see, the conspiracy theorists they're not going to work with that, and then it's hard to absolutely prove without all other shadows of doubts, so they go to the demolitions thing on how it fell. Look, when you get that much heat in a building like that wasn't made properly in the first place, and those little bitty supports give way, the building's going to drop. And you know where it dropped? From the side and the center roughly at the same time, which are the main points of the fuel used in the jets. And when those pieces drop, the rest of the building is going to come down like matchsticks. The flames, the fuel, it's like water. They're going to find their way down. And they're going to find it in the most simplest parts that they can get to. So you're going to have the whole building burning. It's just going to drop. There's no choice. And then if you get a seismic quake next to a building that's not made for quakes, and you got one building falling, generating a 2 or 3 point momentary quake, the building next to it is going to drop as well. That's how I see that. There are lots of reasons and things to explain away the buildings dropping, but that's where they mess up. It's not about the buildings falling. It's about the intel. It's about the knowledge. It's about knowing that the hijackers had box cutters and they held passengers of a minimum of 60 to a maximum of like 90 or 100 people at bay with a box cutter. They know they had, that's all they had. I'm just saying, think about that. You mean to tell me we're going to just sit here and deal and be hijacked with box cutters? That person could have been rushed, taken down, and beaten down, but they did nothing because they didn't want to get cut. Oh, come on, people. So there's so much that could go into a conspiracy theory, but the buildings falling and how they fell and the inside demolition experts and all that, that's losing the plot. That's losing it. It's everything that led up to right before impact. And I don't really care if I'm right, wrong, or somewhere in between. It don't matter to me. And the reason it don't matter is because, let's say I somehow proved that it was an inside job. The government knew, they helped plan it, they did all this other stuff. Let's say that's what it was. Now what? Now what? All we can do is say, you know what? Now we know. We're informed. And that means what? Who goes to prison? Who goes to jail? Do you overthrow your government? See how that worked already, right? So what are you going to do? And then let's say, okay, it was a demolitions expert. Okay, you find out who it was. You find out that he worked for the government just to take down the buildings because somebody wanted to build something new or they got tired of it being in the way. Who knows? You find this out. And then what? Then what? You got to stop chasing your tail in a circle and figure out, what if I catch it? What then? What? Do you change people voting from Democrat and Republican to a third party? Do you do that? Do you vote out everyone from every level of government until you get something just and decent for the people and not the big money donors? Do you get more money because you figured it out? If you figure things out and it's not going to change the lifestyles of everyone in this country financially so they can live financially comfortable for the one life they get, then it's not all that important. That's how I see it. If you figure it out, make sure you can do something positive with it. If you can't, and you have no proof, and you're just trying to get brownie points, or you're just trying to be part of a clique or a tribe, you have failed yourself only. That's it. Because right now, 9/11 and all this stuff is more about believers than actual truthers. And the truthers are no longer truthers, they're just believers. I got something, and all those that think this way are on my side, and that's it. So think about what's going on, why it's going on, who's saying what, why they're saying what. Okay? Because once you go past the president knowing, telling them to cover their ass and doing all of this, once you go past that and you go past the, we somehow know the conversation and all this that happened, 10 or 12,000 miles away and nobody said anything, and you go past, only box cutters on the plane, and it couldn't have been something else or worse. Once you go past that, it is meaningless. It is pointless. and you don't mean it, and you're a grifter, because you're not tackling where it is. You're just tackling the one thing that no one can prove or disprove finitely, and you keep bringing it up over and over because it's a belief. And I'd rather go on facts. I'd rather go on knowledge, not belief. This has been Cedric Kennedy for Comparative Reasoning. Thank you for listening.